Hi students, this is Mrs. Mignell again, and I am going to give revision comments on a third and final draft. This particular essay does focus on Pitch Perfect College Fair, and I do think this is the best title I've seen so far of the three essays that I've looked at. The introduction here does look like it is immediately goes into an introduction on the movie. I'm going to take just a couple minutes looking at the introduction, and then I'm going to go down to this conclusion here. This is an exceptionally short draft. I think the student wasn't too sure what they were doing. Let me give them you and them some ideas about ways that they can develop the ideas that they placed in their draft. So pause with me and read that first paragraph and read the last paragraph. Okay, so I have read through the first paragraph and the last paragraph. And just as what I found in the second example that I spoke on, the point of the essay can be found in the conclusion. So this first part of the essay, this one paragraph that I broke up into a couple paragraphs, are actually just the author summarizing what happens in the movie. Now this is perfectly fine for a downdraft, and this updraft is more of a downdraft in that the conclusion states the point that the student comes to be able to make. So I'm going to come down here to this last paragraph, and in the end, people are quick to judge others because they think that they are automatically better than, not than other people. It is upsetting that people can connect to this movie, and I would want to know more about why. In that way, because people still judge others, not do judge, but still judge others on how they look in college. And here I would pause. I would say, I would think people would judge that children judge other children based on what they look like, not only in elementary school and middle school and in high school, but you're saying that they haven't matured enough that by the time they reach college, they are still judging people based on looks. People won't even talk to another person if they even look slightly different from them. And you would think that people, by the time they're in college, are more mature to be more accepting of difference, right? This society, I'm not too sure what you mean by this society. You mean college society is very judgmental, and people seem to go off on what others think and feel just to fit in. So this is the point that you're starting with. It does need to connect in college, and I think your point is that although we would think college students to be mature enough not to judge people by their appearance, Perfect Pitch shows that college students still judge others by their looks. That's a wonderful point to make and to judge. So I'm going to copy this point here, and I'm going to put it up here. There still needs to be an introduction. The author has not included an introduction that transitions the reader into the point that they're going to make, because I hadn't really figured out what point they were going to make until they did this writing. And that's the purpose of downdrafting, is to write until you have something of an idea of what you're going to say. Now the big part now is, how will you prove this in this particular essay? I'm going to pause this just a little bit more and take a look at some of the other paragraphs that were written to see if I can't uh, point to how this could happen. Okay, I'm back. I have just read this paragraph on page 2 that starts with "at the college fair scene." And this actually is not a bad start on developing the point. So it says, at the college fair scene, the two main characters, Audrey and Chloe, were being displayed as the confident, high-ranked college girls. in the a cappella group. Then along, and along shouldn't be capitalized, comes a heavier, less set, less well-dressed girl, and who tends to speak her mind, named, and you do need to give her name. I need to give her a name. I can't remember who this particular actress is. Is it Rebel Wilson? I haven't seen it for a while, but you should. You can just give her the name, her name. These you didn't give who the actresses were here, so if you don't need to, but do give us the character's name there. So this scene was trying to display the stereotypical judgment and division college students put into to or division people or students put in today's college society. This is very logical and relatable, and I would say explain how and why. You say, unfortunately, this is normal due to the expectation teens and college students put on one another and themselves. So since this statement is made, and the wonderful thing about writing is, when you start to understand the point that you're trying to make, you can come back to what you said about this heavier, less well-dressed girl, and then you can put in here the a cappella group was only focused on, I'll put this, what kind of female college student, which this one girl is the completely opposite. So you found your idea here, and now what you need to do is you need to make what you've said previously match your insight that you get to a little bit later in the paragraph. I haven't seen the movie in a while, so I don't quite remember this particular scene. Maybe you could go in and give us one or two more sentences that are a little bit more detailed. And then my question then is, what rhetorical appeal is this? You said it's a logical and relatable. So you do have to explain how this is logical. I think you could talk about how in junior high and high school it's expected that students would be immature and more sensitive to how somebody looks and maybe even peer pressure. And that would be logical. And now that you're trying to claim that college students are not matured as well as they should be because they still judge people based on their looks, then you need to explain how that's logical. So I would assume that that's what needs to happen. It looks like not much has been said in this particular essay. And I've scrolled back up to the beginning of the essay. You probably need a couple more scenes in order to develop this thought that and prove the point that college students are no longer mature because of their expectations that people look a certain way and act a certain way. And then are you really saying that if you're going to go to college, realize that it's going to be similar to high school in that your peers are going to expect physical perfection based on what Pitch Perfect is presenting to their audience? So that's the kind of thing that needs to be revised in this essay, thinking more about the reader, providing more description of the scenes, discussing the use of the rhetorical appeals in each scene, and then explaining how that connects to the point of the essay.